were looking for, and TSM really put on a show. Let's start all the way back at the beginning with the picks and bans. Twitch, Annie, Zed, and Karthus, as well as the Riven, the Jax. So who was to pick this one up?
You know, I really like TSM's picks and bans that time. Of course, we've seen them run that top lane Karthus in the LCS, but I doubt that SK Telecom had prepared for that eventuality. And having it with such a strong assassin like Zed is always great. And then kind of putting on their best royal impression with the Twitch Annie lane as well. Very exciting and a very aggressive style of play. I think Freak is absolutely right in that you had these... they were a little bit gun-shy with it in the mid-game. You are all in with that kind of composition, and if you're too late in pulling the trigger, it can really hurt you.
And I'm also really glad that I finally see a good matchup against Corki. People generally play Ezreal, Caitlyn, Vayne. These are not good matchups for those champions. Like maybe Caitlyn a little bit early game, but you finally see Wild Turtle picking Twitch. It's really, and there's TSM chants going on in the background. Twitch is a skill matchup against Corki, where Twitch is in favor because he outscales.
Twitch is... Corki is really good at doing very, very short trades, and Twitch is generally better in the longer trades, although with any support, the threat of that stun actually helps them scale into the game, especially when you can have a Requiem to back you up.
Yeah, TSM's plan coming into this was to bring global presence to the bottom lane so they could get their bottom lane rolling. Thought they were going to actually bring more and even go with like the jungle Nocturne that they were thinking about, but when Elisa's up, you're going to take that away.
Yeah, I guess what was great about SK Telecom's composition, though, and the way that they played it out was the Bengi's level 2 gank with the red buff really caught Dyrus off guard. And this is something new that I haven't seen from SK Telecom before. And they're really picking up cues from, say, the Chinese teams that are more likely to do that here. And so we're already seeing some of these adaptations. And, yeah, not only that, but they knew that by getting Jax a snowball, and if they could hold down Zed in the mid lane, the split-pushing threat would be unanswerable. And so they basically force TSM to all in them in a 5v4 situation. If you're watching for that and you can let Jax split push, for me, that's really where the tide turns right here.
There was also something that I really liked from that game. It was pretty clear SKT really wanted to focus, first of all, getting Jax going and rolling, also trying to shut down Dyrus. We've seen a number of ganks. And the very first, or the second dive actually under the tower where Dyrus has managed to throw down that Requiem, pick up a double kill. Wild Turtle got a kill as well in that bottom lane. But one of the other things that stood out for me throughout the game was that in the first 10, 15 minutes of the game, TSM had very good dragon presence. They secured the first one after a good kill. They won a fight because, Impact simply wasn't there. They managed to pick up a kill onto Piglet and then secure the dragon. And it was very positive for TSM in that time frame.
And they were dictating the pace of the game right there. At Impact decided, SK Telecom was not decisive enough. Should we push down this lane? Should Impact come for this dragon fight? And that moment of indecision, TSM really capitalized on that well.
That's the danger when you gank Karthus post 6, is that if you get him down and you go low in it, he will just press his R, and then people on the other side of the map can immediately play on that. Even if you don't get kills, you chunk your position into a Drake. TSM really reacted well on that Requiem. They knew it was coming, engaged on bottom. Unfortunate crescendo miss from Pumandu. But then they turned it around into a dragon, and that was a really solid play. Got TSM definitely back in the game. And props to Dyrus for pulling that off under the tower.
And speaking of the other side of the map, I'm actually really concerned as SK Telecom progresses through this tournament. Pumandu has not been impressing me with his laning. Like his mid-game and late-game warding, crescendos, they've been great. But in lane, I see him getting hooked a lot by Mithy against Lemon Dogs, getting like backwards crescendo happening right there and getting both of them killed. I feel like Pumandu is going to have a lot of trouble if he ends up playing a more aggressive bot lane. Like you just see right here, Turtle and Special they're top tier in NA, and they had a lot of trouble.
Well, talking about Turtle, before you carry on.
And now you can go ahead. Turtle.
Well, I was going to talk about Turtle's epic double kill. We've actually got a replay of this one, so let's get this replay up on your screen. It is after one of these sort of team fights, and look, it didn't start very well for TSM. Crepo, talk us through this one.
Yeah, basically what we're going to see here is that what SK T1 does really well. There's almost nothing happening on first glance, but then Jax is going to go for a really good engage on Dyrus, I believe. If we roll the clip, we can see it. Jax will jump in actually in a bit. Jumps in, there's a stun on Dyrus. Dyrus is almost going to get blown up. Then Reggie counters, goes in really good crescendo as well. Reggie's now 1v1ing Faker in the back. Faker will outplay him. Everybody has to disengage. You think this fight is over? Reggie managed to get away. Unfortunately, mechanical screw up, gets into the wall, done. You think everybody's dead, but here comes Wild Turtle. He says, well, everybody just uses cooldowns, flashes the Jax E, and this is a hero play. This is why Wild Turtle is really damn good. Anybody on a World Final stage that has as much, confidence to do this is just amazing. Any other AD carry would be really scared to do this as well. You used all your stuff on Reginald already. I'm just gonna outplay you. Flash the Jax E, turn on spray and pray, go in, kill Sona. Too bad right after I think.
Yeah, odd one chased into the river, kind of spoiled Turtle's happy birthday, but it was regardless a very, very strong play from Wild Turtle. The Flash and Blade of the Ruined King active were essential for them turning that around.
And not only that, but we were all sitting here talking on the desk about the 3 melee champions that SK Telecom had, and that was a huge factor in that play because you could abuse that range in that situation pretty fearlessly that close to the turret.
And that's why this game was so close, because of the mentality that you have when you're with those 3 melee carry champions. We even saw SKT diving a little bit too far because you have to commit with that type of team.
If they didn't shut down Dyrus early, imagine if this game runs really stale early to mid game, and then later on, Dyrus could have got the Requiems going to finish off the bot lane. Then late game, they would have had a lot of trouble. Having 3 melee characters, having to go through a Cardus, trying to get to a Twitch is really damn hard. So TSM definitely had a shot here.
One of the things that we've been highlighting throughout the build-up of today, talking about the loss that TSM suffered from SKT. I know the phrase that Crepo's been throwing around a lot is the conceptual play from TSM. Stepping back, looking at the compositions, looking at the players, and it shone through. Their comp really worked. They could have done. They were pulling it off on a mechanical level as well, but SKT just made more correct steps.
I mean, they didn't really ever have that answer to the split pushing Jax, though. I mean, we saw that when Faker tried to go in on him in that bottom lane situation.
Reggie.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Reggie went down there on his Zed.
Confusing Reggie with Faker now,
Oh, jeez.
Well, quickly, last thoughts, Crepo. Do you have anything to add before we roll on?
I really like their conceptual play, although I think they make the mistake later. The fight that lost them the game, if you remember, Drake was done, moved into mid lane. That's really quick. But then TSM got pushed out of that lane. They got zoned to the left and bottom, and they tried to run. And you can't run from that composition. They should send in Dyrus first. Eventually, in that fight, even Dyrus went out of mana. That means SKT1 was really smart. They just ignored him. They let him go out of mana. If Dyrus would have gone in first, took the hits for his team, then he would have done then it could have possibly turned the fight around.
Yeah, I think Freak really summarized it quite well. They were a little gun-shy. They needed to pull that trigger maybe a little more often in order to make that comp work. So, unfortunately for TSM, they have lost. Let's actually take a look at how this affects the Group A standings. OMG and SKT1 share that first place. However, SKT1 with that additional loss puts them 1 game behind. TSM are now